Hi and welcome back to the cottage. As you can see, I've got a very special guest with me here today, my husband Craig, and we are going to be doing a fun Q&A session together. We are so excited to be here today answering all of your questions. There are a lot of new subscribers and new people visiting this channel, and I sent out a request both here and on Instagram for you if you had any questions that you wanted us to answer, and I got some really good ones back. And so I'm just going to read the questions, and then Craig and I are going to tag team the responses. So let's just jump right into it, I guess. All right, the first question is one that actually gets asked quite frequently, and that is, where did you get the floor plans for your house? And if you've watched any of my previous videos, I have mentioned a couple of times that I design houses. I have a degree in architecture, and residential design is my favorite thing to do. And so we actually did design this house for ourselves.
We, meaning her.
Well, he had input too. We actually worked for quite a few years at fine-tuning it to meet the needs of our family and really just creating the space that we needed and we wanted. And although I don't have a link for you where you could purchase the same floor plans, it is something that I might get to in the future. I might offer this floor plan and other simple floor plans, so maybe be looking for that in the future. But we feel very blessed that we were able to design our own home, and we love living here. A related question from someone who already knew about my background is, as a minimalist and a home designer, do you encourage people to build smaller houses? And I would have to say not necessarily. This lifestyle isn't for everyone, and even though we really understand the benefits of living in a very simplified home, that's not what everybody wants. So when I'm working on designing with a client, I will encourage them to minimize the amount of excess square footage. So for example, extra hallways or spaces that aren't going to be used, we try to minimize that, and most everybody can appreciate that part of it, to eliminate that extra square footage, because every extra square foot costs extra money, and so they're okay eliminating that. But not everybody you're going to be able to talk down to a very, very simplified house, and so I just have to be okay with that. I prefer designing those smaller, more simple homes, but that's not everybody's taste, and I'm not going to push that on them. Okay, next question. How did you get your spouse to get on board with minimalism? And honestly, I feel like we kind of both got fed up with our excess kind of around the same time. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that while I didn't know the term minimalism or what it essentially was, I think especially when we had kids and we noticed all the stuff starting to pour into the house and we were getting frustrated with that, we definitely both kind of wanted to simplify our lives at that point.
Yeah, so we sort of just did it together. We grew into it together. We didn't call it minimalism at first. It was just living more simply and getting rid of the excess, and then as time went on, I guess we simplified to the point that now we do call ourselves minimalists. But so there wasn't any like pulling anyone along, nothing like that. I don't have any tips for you if you are struggling to get your spouse on board. Basically, I would just say, you know, if it's something that you need for your own well-being, then just start doing it with your own things, and eventually your spouse might see that and see that you are feeling less stress, and maybe they would want to join in.
Or if you have any spaces in your house that you consider yours, start there.
Yep.
Lead by example.
Yep, just get little bits at a time, and eventually kind of this whole lead by example thing will probably lead into that. Okay, next question is related. Who in your family gave or gives the most pushback to minimalism? And again, going with that, we all kind of have gone through this together, but I have one of our kids in mind. We won't name names, but we could point in that direction. I have one of our kids in mind that just struggles a little bit more. What do you say? And I'll see if I'm the same as you.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like one of our sons at the beginning struggled because he really liked to hold on to things. But I don't feel like it's been as much lately.
Nope.
So I don't know if that's who you're thinking of, I guess.
Okay, so I was thinking of that. Our middle son, right? Our middle son, he used to really like to hold on to things. So he would get something and it just was really special and precious to him. And now and we didn't pressure him. Through time, I think maybe as he's gotten older, he just started to realize maybe they weren't as precious to him anymore. But the one that I think gives the pushback right now is actually our youngest son. And it's not the holding on to things, it's actually the consumption side of it.
Yeah.
He wants things, he likes the thrill of getting new things, and everybody likes that.
Right.
So we have to be really mindful with him of, asking him the questions of like, do you need this? Maybe take a day and think about it some more. We got a handful of questions asking for sources for where to buy certain items that they've seen in our videos throughout our house. And again, I don't have any really good links because we tend to be the type of people that kind of collect items through time. And so many of the items we have here are antiques or Craig built them himself.
Do you have specifics as to what?
Yeah, so, and we had a video previously where we talked about all the different special things in our house. So many of them are kind of called out there, but like our kitchen sink was Craig's grandparents' sink, and we had it kind of restored and put in here. And then people ask about our table because it's a nice big table. It fits a lot of people around it, and that was made out of trees that were milled from our property. The bathroom sink is another one that people have asked about, and Craig built that. For our sink, I actually saw something on Pottery Barn that I liked, and I wasn't willing to pay the huge price tag for it, and so I kind of gave him some sketches of what I wanted, and I'm kind of the dreamer, and so I dream up these ideas, and then Craig's the doer, so we're a really good team that way.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a struggle for her to make her vision clear to me.
But then,
we work through it, yeah.
Again, if you have any other questions about specific sources, I will leave a link to that previous video, or you can ask a question again and I'll try to let you know. But most of the time it's either an antique piece that we've collected through the years or it's something that we made ourselves. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Are your kids really okay with sharing rooms? I think that people sometimes assume because our kids are older, usually sharing rooms is for younger kids, or that's kind of the typical. They do like it. I mean, there's separation, especially for our boys. They kind of have their own spaces. If you saw the video we did previously, Craig was involved in that one too, where we redid our oldest son's little sleeping nook space and put some special touches in there for him. I think they like having the company. The boys like to chat, into the night. And our girls like to share just security purposes or like, just being near each other. So yeah, they like it. Going along with that, I'm gonna actually skip ahead because that kind of goes into another question that was asked is that the person said that they knew our girls were adopted, but they were wondering if they were biological sisters. And they are not biologically related that we know of. We haven't done any DNA testing, but they're from two different parts of China, so it's
unlikely. Yeah.
Pretty unlikely. But in terms of sisterhood, these girls are like the closest.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't have been more blessed with how well those two get along and how well they play together.
It's like they were meant to be together, honestly.
Yeah.
All right, next question. What is your favorite minimalist decorating tip? And I'll take this one because you're not much of a decorator.
Oh, come on.
In fact, I don't even consider myself to be much of a decorator. I like designing spaces, and so the way that the spaces relate to one another, that's more of an architectural thing. In terms of interior designing, I do not consider myself to be very good at that. I just like to keep things really, really simple. But I would have to say that one of my favorite tips that goes along with minimalism is just using the things that you already have in your home and using them in different spaces. So I like to rearrange things. This is something I've been doing even when I was a kid. I always liked rearranging my bedroom. And so just changing around the living room, giving it a fresh new look, finding things from other rooms, maybe some pillows, moving them around, moving tables. We have these little tables that we move around different places, and that just kind of gives it a fresh look. So that's my best decorating advice. I don't consider myself to be a decorator by any sense of the imagination. I know stuff is just stuff, but do you have any possession that is really especially important to you? So we're gonna have to answer this one separately, I suppose. Do you want to go first? Because I think I need to think about mine for a little bit.
Yeah, it's tough to say just one possession, because I think anything from my grandparents is especially important to me. And we've kind of talked about this already in previous videos about the stuff in this house specifically from my grandparents that are important to me. I think if I were to have to pick one thing, it would probably be, I have a Jeep. That's a 51, and that was actually my great-grandpa's on my dad's side. And then it was my dad's, and then now it's mine, and then the boys and I have been working on it this summer. I would think if I was forced to pick just one item, that would probably be it.
Yeah. We're really big on like memory's sake. You know, I think sometimes minimalists get the bad reputation of just like not caring about anything and like, oh, we don't care about those memories, but we incorporated a lot of those special things into our house, and so they're kind of a part of the house. If we ever were to move, we'd have to take them with us somehow. So that'd be kind of, yeah, that'd be a challenge. I think for myself, I'm gonna have to say probably pictures, physical photos, digital photos. I try to take a lot of pictures because, again, with the memory's sake, I like to look back on those. I'm wanting to find a better way to store our pictures. I do display them sometimes different ways around our house, but I'd love to find a way to store them so they're more accessible to us, because they're really special to me. I love looking back at them and just sparking those memories. It's just really fun. Okay, this one is very interesting. The person asks, do you have well water? And also, what challenges do you face with rural living? And the answer to this question is probably going to surprise some of you that don't know us in real life, don't know where we live in real life, but we don't live rural. We actually live kind of on the outskirts of towns, but it is a neighborhood. It's a very unique neighborhood. It was...
our site is very unique also.
Yes,
yeah.
Our site is very unique in that it does kind of have that peaceful country setting to it.
That's what we loved about it actually when we got it.
Yep. But on one side of so we kind of live on the edge, like on a corner of a road that goes by like this. And on one side, our neighbors on that side, they all have probably 2 or 3 acres of land, each of them. And so the houses are really spread apart pretty well. But then on the other side, if you go past our house, it's really just city blocks, like just standard city blocks. So we also live in a part of Minnesota that has lots of lakes and lots of trees. And so that probably gives, again, to that illusion or feeling of that more country living. But we really do love this location. The stage of life that we're in right now with our kids being involved in school and sports and different activities, we are literally, the most distance that we have to travel anywhere is about 10 minutes. Our kids can bike a lot of places in the area, and but yet we feel, you know, fairly secluded. So we don't have a well. In fact, when we bought our land more than that now, 12 years ago, the site had electricity to it, and it had sewer to it, but it did not have city water. And we actually waited until city water came here because it's just a lot more convenient, less expensive to dig a new well and everything like that. So yeah, that's the story of our property. Okay, next question. I heard you say in one of your videos that you don't buy things in bulk, such as food. How can you get by without doing that when you have such a large family? And this one, I guess, when we designed this house, we intentionally did not design a lot of storage, because when we store things, we found for ourselves, when we store things, we forget about them. And so that would happen too if we had a really large pantry. I feel like we would forget what we all had in there. And so I kind of just got into a routine of going shopping every 2 weeks, and then I meal plan ahead of time, so I know exactly what I need for all of these different meals, and I buy just those things, and I have just enough space to store the food for those things. The only time that this has become any sort of problem was when there was the big toilet paper shortage, because we didn't have a stockpile of toilet paper. and that was a really odd situation. But generally speaking, if we need to buy something, we just go to the store and pick it up. I mean, again, we're so close to everything we need that we don't see the need, I guess, to buy everything in bulk. So I hope that answers that question. Okay, this is the final question for today's video because it's getting a little bit long, but what is your best tip for someone who is just starting out with minimalism? And I know a lot of people watching this channel are just starting out, and I remember that feeling. I remember just starting out and feeling pretty overwhelmed by the process, just knowing there was so much that we needed to tackle. And I guess I would say just start little by little. I mean, 30 minutes at a time, going through your things, and you do have to process everything. I mean, you can't just take a big shovel and go through your house and throw everything out. You have to look at everything and make a decision. And there's a lot of decision fatigue that happens early on because there are a lot of decisions that you need to be making. And so really cut it down to a very short amount of time. Focus on clearing off maybe just one counter space, one room, and then that will give you momentum to keep going forward. That'd be my best tip for a beginner who wants to start living a more simplified life. All right, well, that's gonna do it for today's video. That was really fun. I thought it was fun. I don't know how Craig felt about it. He's kind of a man of few words, but if we didn't answer your question today, or if something popped into your mind that you'd like us to answer, leave us a comment down below and maybe we'll do this type of video again and answer some more questions of yours. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and we hope that you'll stop by the cottage again really soon.